Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm ready to talk about this topic, which a lot of people, won't like, but humans don't like everything. We're all meant to have topics and opinions we don't want to talk about, but I'm going to make this for mainly young men, myself, going through something, going through the same thing. And the topic is, why do women want, and I'll explain it. I'll explain it in depth, each content. If you don't agree with me, then you don't agree with me. But my topic is, why do women want to be seen for their body? Why do they want to be seen like a slut? Why do they? And they think they like it. That, but it gets into this whole spiritual warfare thing. They think it gives them comfort, right? And I'll explain them why they think. I'll explain why they think like that, and how it's gonna end up in their future, and why they did it. Okay. And first of all, before I start talking about anything, this is 100% facts, history, evolution, everything that made women women. Men aren't perfect. Downfall of men and women. No one's perfect. I'm not just gonna make a video hating about women, talking about women. I'm just because women feel the same way about men. About like, oh, all that is they're disgusting. They look at me for my body. So if I talk about women, they're like, oh, you hate women. Women are like, oh, you hate women. But I'm like, oh, you hate men too. So it's like, who wins? You know what I mean? But what I'm mainly just gonna talk about is just like if you're a man, right? And you're just a single man. Me, for example. And let's just say you go on a dating app, try to talk to a woman, right? And then you talk to them in a nice flowing state. I'm not saying just be extra super nice guy, okay? Just compliment them on everything. That's good. That's good and all, right? But just like talking them into a sensible manner, because they like, you have to say you on all lowercase, yo. They like that. But if you say hey or hi, they just ignore it, right? They like this demonic masculine energy for some reason, which it's weird. But women are like this code that you can't understand. It's really weird and how they function biologically. It's how they're biologically programmed, and I'll talk about how they're biologically programmed and how it's forever going to be and how it was, So if you really think about it, if you talk about history, this is gonna get rough right here. So be ready for this, all right? Don't take down my video. But if you really think about it, women did not really have rights for the whole existence of humans, right? All right, just wait, okay? Don't get mad at me. They didn't have rights. How would they evolve? How would they understand themselves to a point of men understanding themselves? Men, the creation of everything, creation of me, you, Jesus, man, Muhammad, all these saints and prophets and everything. Like it's getting into a point, like what I'm saying, right? Let me make an example real quick. Yesterday I went to the grocery store, right? Was buying something. On the back, I look, women owned. So I'm like, why do you need to put women owned? And I was like, oh, I know why you need to put women owned. Because women like having power, right? Because they weren't used to having power. Because in other countries, we live in the United States, most likely a lot of people watching this, women have a lot of rights here, right? Still in foreign countries, other Europe, is like Islam, women don't have rights. They don't have many rights. And that's how even in America years ago, they didn't. But they still really haven't evolved. And that's why I was like, women owned. Like, do I need to put man owned if I make something? Like, is it crazy? I guarantee you'll see that about some things. But I was like, I get it. That's fine. That's how the universe, that's how history, that's how everything's happening. And you can't hate it. You can't hate evolution. You can't hate the history of it. You know what I mean? Women still haven't evolved yet. Simple. Clearly, and it's simple. It's obvious. And we all know that. Are they worthless? No. But they're just starting to evolve. And that's history. You can't hate on what I'm saying if it's literally history. They were going through protest protest rights 50 years ago, holding up signs for their rights. And the universe, I mean, humans existed hundreds, thousands of years, and they're just doing that 50 years ago. You see how evolution has come? Don't hate on me. I know people are not going to like this. This is history. If you don't like history, then that's just life, you know? That's just how it is. So what I'm saying is, right, you just talk to a woman. I'm going to put this on men too, right? My bad. A lot of reasons. The main reason why women are very egocentric, which mean they're very full of themselves. Like, I mean, in physical energy. I can talk about physical, astral energy, and all this stuff. So, right, women growing up, they're growing up used to compliments all the time by people, by everybody. You look so good, all this. For a man, you have to work years in the gym for your body, by the way. Years in the gym for your body. Just to even take your shirt off or to feel seen. That's why a lot of men are insecure, but scientifically women are more insecure, right? Well, but it's kind of weird, right? But like, because women's physical attributes are way more way more divine. Women are way more, their physical energy, which means what you can see, right? Their body, their below, their ass, their boobs, right? Makeup, that's their physical energy. So what I mean by physical and astral energy is, let me just put someone I saw on like some YouTube shorts, like some girl named Sophie Rain, right? She's attractive woman, right? Does OnlyFans, makes $100 million selling her body. $100 million selling your body. But you can't hate the woman that much for it. It's like 50-50, you know what I mean? Because it's like men in despair, cruelty, lusting over it. But if the women ever put themselves out like that, would there be more lusting? I'm not saying it's women's fault. Again, don't get me wrong, but like, it's when men are doing it, because the reason, this is what people don't understand. The reason why men always like lust and like despair more, like, and like sexual energy, it's because you women are much more physically attractive, beautiful, divine, glorious. And you want to explain how? That's how in ancient history, the princess with the king, you know, in ancient times, still now, people just only want to be with a woman just because she's a woman. That's literally the only reason, right? Oh, and for a woman, right, they can pick any man they want because they're a woman, basically. For a man, it's extremely different. What I mean is their energy so ethereal, like divine, like what they give to a man just because their physical attraction. That's the crazy thing, and that's always been dealing, even since ancient times in the Bible. It's always just because they're a woman, their physical looks. Women, they're just so beautiful, but they're not understanding with their astral selves, their spiritual selves, which is like, you know, weird, right? How can they look so good but then not know anything about existence and about how they became? There are those few women out there, never met them, don't know if I ever will, but in other countries that understand themselves to a degree. But what I mean is, like, women mainly in America, you know, they just don't know how to value themselves. They like being a slut, but they really don't. That's their only choice, because they grow up, they understand, because they have social media, right? They post themselves, get a bunch of looks. We got a bunch of looks from a bunch of guys, a bunch of girls, a bunch of Instagram comments saying, "You slay, girl. You do this. You're good. You look beautiful. You do this." You know, but you know, men, that does not happen. They'll be like, "Yo, cool photo, bro, fire." I mean, it's different. And women are still somehow scientifically more insecure and depressed, which weird, you know. because you're used to getting compliments all the time from guys and girls, because from your feminine, biologically natured, beautiful self, right? You know? But let me get into more depth with it. The reason they feel like they're on the top of the world, they're egocentric, because all the compliments, they feel godly, they feel like they're unstoppable. So they don't matter about relationships. They could just want to do this, play with the guy's mind. Because when you're a woman, oh my gosh, let me tell you this: if you're a woman watching, like, understand yourself more. If you watch this, you can easily psychologically manipulate any guy. Whoa, right? Crazy, right? Just because of the way that you look. Crazy, right? Sometimes happens to me, but then I realize I double think it. Like, I like realize, I understand, like, the beauty, but then the despair of my soul, like, being sucked in, like, I'm like, oh, just because their physical attraction, like, their physical attraction. Let me tell you why women are more beautiful, ethereally beautiful, divine, than physically than men. They have makeup, right, which makes them outstanding more. Breasts, you know, boobs, and most of them are, you know, like skinny girls, a lot of skinny girls, and, you know, they look good, simple. And nope, let me forget this: they have long hair all the way down here. 90-something% of women have long hair, very long hair, and it's kind of hard to look bad with that. That's why, like me, kind of long hair, but you kind of really can't look that bad with long hair. Kind of messed up my hair, damn. Yeah, I didn't wash my hair. I kind of look bad right now, but it doesn't matter. But it's kind of hard to look that bad, you know. But it's just how they were biologically programmed, and that's how it's gonna be. That's how it's forever gonna be. But last thing is, just, if you're a woman, just, I know men can look at you for being disgusting. That's in your nature. That's in your nature. But I promise, all a man wants is to be loved. You can suck the lust out of him if you show him what love is. I promise you that. I promise you that. I promise you can suck it out of him if you love him and understand him enough. It's just like every woman I see, like, I don't use social media. I uninstalled mainly everything. I just on Instagram here and there, rarely. But like, it's just to a point. Especially, let me talk about TikTok for a minute. I'll only be it for a minute. I can make a whole video about TikTok. But people that make on TikTok, it's all about other people's problems and lives, and BS that. It's all about other people's problems in life that relates to you, because we're all one. We all go through the same thing, you know. It just, TikTok makes you an idiot. Uninstall TikTok, delete it. It changes your whole personality. I'm probably gonna make a video about that. But yeah, it changes everything about you. Promise you. But you're gonna be like, oh wait, Instagram or YouTube, it says the same thing. Nope. In a degree, yes, but TikTok is the worst out of them all. I'm not gonna explain that why. That was just some short tip I had to throw out there. But I'll actually end off with this. Like, they think it's gonna get them throughout their whole life, right? Like, oh, look at me for my body, look at this, until they get in their mid-20s, right? They're like, oh, maybe I'm tired of just having sex with a bunch of random guys. Let me just try to get a relationship. And then a guy, you know, completely breaks up with her, and then she goes back to being slut, working at a bar, you know, or being a nurse. Bro, I'm just being too much. Okay, I know. But it just, you know, men aren't perfect. I'll make a video literally about men too, of how they're not perfect, and how they think, and how we think, and how we're programmed to think, and why no one's perfect. But I'm just telling you, women haven't really evolved. If you understand the first minute of the video that I was talking about, they haven't evolved yet, really. Like when I talked about you know, the grocery store I saw women owned, you know, but yeah, that's it. I can make this video forever and long. I'm gonna make a part 2, whatever. But just keep on You can't change how the universe is being flowed and how people think, how they're biologically programmed. But we're just falling into deep pit, everybody. But the women, it won't get them so far, I promise. Doing this, literally, every woman in America, it's literally crazy. And social media just influences it, and it makes everything worse. But hey, God loves you. God bless. Any questions, anything you comments of what I said, just let me know. But if you're mad, it's the truth. Can't hate history, like I said in evolution. But see ya. Just keep on living.